We lost you.
Shit.
You there? There we go. We're just cold open with some internet problems. We haven't done that yet. That's something different.
There you go. And it was perfect because right when the punchline happened, that's when we cut out. And so that way Nick's just like, honey, and waiting for some sort of reaction, but he got nothing. He got nothing because we didn't hear shit.
You got stone-faced and no laughs, no claps.
And then, of course, Nick's like, well, I'm really glad I killed that fucking joke in a podcast because it's obviously not funny. So thank God I destroyed that fucking joke.
The punchline is Spectrum Internet sucks. That's the real punchline.
Yeah, because Nixon is like, oh, I'm in my Louis C.K. phase where I kill my jokes and rewrite new brilliant material. And then I'm about 10 years away from everybody calling me the worst human being ever. But I got about a 5-year stretch where everybody calls me a fucking genius. So if you're curious where Nick Robinson.
Oh, God.
Starting off strong, starting off smooth.
I'm protecting your name, Nick Alexander.
Thank you. You mean Olessa, goddammit. All right, welcome to this episode of Tim Bell Pod. I am Nick Olessa, and you know they say all podcast hosts are created equal, but you take a look at Man Scout Jake Manning, and you take a look at Michael Loving, and you can see that statement is not true. See, normally when you do a podcast with a wrestler, you got a 50-50 chance at hosting, but Jake's a camping freak, and he's not normal, so Micah's got a 25% chance at best at host him. And then you add me to the mix, and your chances of hosting drastic go down. You see, as 3 members of Tim Bell Pod, you got a 33rd and 1/3 chance of hosting. But Jake has a 66 and 2/3 chance of hosting, because I know I can't out wrestling knowledge Jake, and I'm not even going to try. So Micah, you take your 33rd and 1/3 chance minus Jake's 25% chance. You got an 8 and 1/3 chance of hosting. And then you take Jake's 75% chance of hosting if you were to go one-on-one. And then add 66 2/3%. Jake's got a 141 2/3 chance of hosting this episode. Senor Micah, the numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you this episode.
Oh, God. Largest arms in the world.
God damn it, son.
Jake loved that bit. Jake's a big Shoney's fan, so he just loves Scott Steiner promos.
Also, Scott Steiner, big fan of Cracker Barrel, too. Unless they give him small chicken breasts. When you get the chicken tenders, like Scott Steiner's the only human being that I've ever known gone to the Cracker Barrel, gotten the 6 grilled chicken tenders, and then when they brought them out, he's like, "These are too small. Give me more." And Cracker Barrel's like, "Certainly, sir." Like, that's the only person
all you gotta do.
I didn't realize that was an option in reality where you could be like, "Hey, this is bullshit. Give me more chicken," and they're like, "Okay," and they bring them out. Like, it's almost like Cracker Barrel was like, "Yeah, we know we're fucking you over with these grilled chicken tenders that are like the size of fucking AA batteries, and we brought you 6 of them. Like, there you go. Like, it doesn't even add up to a chicken thigh whatsoever." And
I mean, we got to put in the Scott Steiner factor.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Scott Steiner's yelling at you, you're in trouble.
What the fuck is this? Hey, no chicken, give me more. Okay.
All right. Micah's magic prediction for this time, by the time you hear this podcast when it's released, Israel Adesanya will have beaten, I want to say TKO in the 4th, but I'm going to say decision at UFC 248. We're talking about certain person that might have done some MMA. So I got Israel Adesanya beating Yoel Romero, who's a beast in his own right, but Israel's pretty damn awesome.
All right, before we get into the story of this Nazi Forrest Gump, if you were like, wow, this podcast did an episode on my favorite wrestler and all-around best friend and hero, Ludvig Borga, this is a good time to get out.
Sorry, but you mean Ludvig Borga, the wrestler of the 90s?
Yes, I do.
What quote was that, Nick? Who said that?
Was it Heenan?
It was Heenan. You were very good at your job.
Listen, it's not fucking wrong. I mean... Fucking badass MMA guy, blonde with fucking black gloves on.
I mean,
where are we at right now?
The zeitgeist of the 90s, he kind of...
You put him next to fucking Brock Lesnar,
dude,
you tell
it's
me...
freaky. It's freaky.
They were not fucking wrong. They were not fucking wrong.
I mean, you bring up that point. Me and Nick were going to get into it eventually, but I mean, his New Japan era, Brock stole his shit. Brock stole his whole look.
Not fucking wrong, my friends.
All right. Tony Christian Helm was an author, pro wrestler, MMA fighter, actor, musician, politician, SS tattooed xenophobic douchebag born in Helsinki, Finland, January 6, 1963.
Well, I would just like to say, Nick Alexander, you and all the stupid American listening to this podcast who only speak one language, I would just like to say, USA stand for you stink a lot. That's what I would like to say to you, Mr. Alexander.
Helm was very athletic from a young age, heavy into sports, specifically powerlifting, as his brothers were on the Finnish national team. As a young man, Tony joined the Finnish military, which makes sense because Finland sided with Germany in World War II.
And apparently, Holm, are we going with Holm? Apparently, he was also in his younger days was the bully that his friends like, hey, beat up those kids. Holm was like, okay, I beat up people. I beat them up good.
Also, you say Finnish. I just keep thinking of Finnish as in finish a race
I
type
know,
situation.
I know. It's gonna
so
be
every
tough.
time like the Finnish national team, like, oh, they finish. They're good at finishing. This team is really good at finishing. Aren't all national championship teams good at finishing? Like,
I'm gonna say Finlandian. Let's do that.
I couldn't find the exact connection or dates, but around 89, Tony blitzkrieged his white ass over to America, where he was trained by Vern Gagne. Any clue how this came about?
God,
I didn't find anything of how this happened.
this could have happened. Listen to me now. If we're gonna
Listen to me now.
listen to me now. Okay, Vern obviously had kind of a connection with European area, like Otto Vons. Was AAU champion. So I am so burnt right now. I've called my best friend by the wrong last name already in this episode, and I refer to AWA as
You had that
AAU.
anger peak, and now you're.
Oh yeah, I'm on the come down. Like I should, and I've got it all reversed. Like Chris Cannon, I should have been more subdued and been much more loving. Somber, where I should have been like just irate and over the top Vince McMahon promos throughout this one. But no. I think Vern had that connection with Otto Vons. Otto Vons ran like tournament style wrestling promotions, and a lot of them, I believe, like in the Germany, Deutschland area. You call my homeland.
No, I know.
Call my homeland correct.
I was laughing at your smart.
But so he's got a little bit of that connection. So it could have been through that. Like, hey, here's this, finished product. I have this finished product for you, Vern. You should check this guy out and bring him over. And there's always these weird connections with these international brutes, monsters.
No.
You look at Vladimir Kozlov, which is actually, from what I understand, Vladimir Kozlov is the reason why Jerry Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett, I think, have even still continued not to talk to each other. Because Jerry Jarrett presented Vladimir Kozlov to Vince McMahon, like, here, you should have this guy in your wrestling promotion. And Jeff's like, motherfucker, I run a wrestling promotion. Matter of fact, we were business partners out there. Why are you giving this guy off to him? Like, if you think this guy's money, why are you getting off to him? So fuck you, Dad. But there's always these, it's almost like when people have this connection or they have these international monster guys, it's like, oh, I want to learn how to be a wrestler. And then they're like, well, let's go find the most ancient, behind the times professional wrestler possible. Now, it's not like Google or look up what all the kids and where everybody's going specifically, like this generation is going. No, let's go back. I've heard a story in a magazine from like 20 years ago.
Is
about
Ed
Vern.
the Strangler Lewis still alive?
Yeah, I heard George Hackenschmidt used to train people back in the day. Is old George Hackey around? Like, where's Ed Carpentier? He brought over Andre the Giant. Where's he at?
Oh, he died 34 years ago? Shit.
All right, well, what are the kids? They're on the Vern Gagne, right? They're on the Vern Gagne right now. He's the hot thing right now.
MTV and the Vern Gagne.
Yeah. I think that's probably how that happened. But I would imagine
That makes sense. I can see that.
geographically it'd be an Otto Vons type connection through somebody. So
Yeah, that's a good guess, dude. I like it.
After getting trained, the 6'3", 300-pounder would make his debut for Herb Abrams' Universal Wrestling Federation, October of 1990, as the Viking. He actually looked badass with a cool horned helmet, a cape, and a little Thor hammer.
The promo that's on YouTube, he looks like he's straight out of a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers audition tape. Yes, you'll know who I am. I don't need no introductions. I don't have to tell my name. And the whole time you're like, yeah, you do. Because I don't know who the fuck you are.
that's the absolute fucking worst. That's like, I teach a
Well,
promo.
that promo type
Yeah,
thing?
I teach a promo class, so sometimes when we get a new student in, I'll break it down. I have a structure. for an introductory promo, and I will review it, especially if there's a new student, and I'll look right at them and like, this is how you do it, and here's some of the things you might want to avoid, and here's an example of how you go. I will take their goddamn hand, lead them through how to cut a fucking promo, and then they turn around and cut bullshit like this. I don't need to introduce myself.
reputation,
speak for itself, and tell me goddamn fucking nothing. And of course, Herb Abrams is like, yeah, bring that guy out. That's great. That's a great promo. That's a great promo right there. It's
called mystery.
It's called mystery. Leave him with questions. Much like me, Herb Abrams' death. There's so many questions where I'm covered in a Vaseline-like substance with cocaine stuck on me. All these questions, whether or not these women I'm with are escorts or friends of mine or other people's wives. I'm going to leave all these questions.
I don't even get those references, but I'm really fucking intrigued now.
Look up Herb Abrams' death. It's pretty fucking entertaining.
Oh, his death. Okay, I think
His death. I want to go out the same exact way. Covered in a Vaseline-like substance with cocaine stuck to me, handcuffed in the back of a police car. That's how I want to die.
It kind of sounds like a Jean-Claude Van Damme incident, but we'll get to him later in the episode.
Yeah, but see, that Van Damme's such a tough guy. He survived.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
The Viking had his first match squashing the Patriot, not that Patriot for WWF and stuff. He ended it with a press slam into the ropes, a big elbow, and a one-finger cover.
Got that stretcher treatment. They came out and hauled him out on a stretcher because he's just that badass.
Tony wouldn't hang out in UWF for very long. On October 25th, 1990, he made his debut for New Japan, defeating the Soul Taker in a boxer versus wrestling match.
Soul Taker.
The Soul Taker, Jake. Put some respect on whoever the fuck that is.
I'm fighting to not tell this story.
You can't tease and not.
Because I run $5 wrestling.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a unique wrestler, people are always like, you need to check this guy out. And one guy that's always been on my radar and always been recommended to me, but because he lives in the Northeast, and that's another thing people do, like, oh, like I run $5, you need to get this guy, and then they'll send me a link, and I'm like, all right, you send me a YouTube link, how can I get in touch with this guy? I don't know. And
try leaving a comment on his YouTube video.
Yeah, but it's not even like his YouTube page. Yeah. And it's like, do you know who this guy is? And then if I usually that's what I follow, but you know who this guy is, and sometimes they'll send me a Facebook profile, and then I look it up, and this guy is in Ridgeway, New Jersey. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay him enough to get down here from Ridgeway, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So, and nor am I going to be a big enough piece of shit to tell somebody to come down to Ridgeway, New Jersey for what I pay some of these $5 wrestling guys, because I have to keep tickets low. Regardless, one of those people that get recommended to me from time to time, and it's happened a couple of times, is I've had somebody go, you need to check out this guy who calls himself the N-word taker.
What?
Which, not hard R, big A. And obviously,
wait. So it actually is using it. His name's not literally the N-word taker.
Yeah, it's not the N-word taker.
I really wanted that to be his name.
No, he's like, that's who I am.
Okay.
Here, white ring announcer, I need you to announce me as the N-word taker.
Wow. So let's be clear, he is black.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, in this day and age, I never know what people are trying.
Yeah, it'd be really messed up if it was a white dude. And he was the N-word taker. So, somebody was talking about that and how ridiculous it is, and everybody thought he retired and disappeared, and then somebody was like, nope, he's still been wrestling and he's still a thing, and like that got passed around, and yeah, the N-word taker is still alive and well out there wrestling. And,
hey man, I don't know what to say.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. That's, so when I saw Soul Taker, it just made me think. I don't know why. When I see Soul Taker, you think I should think all kinds of different things, but I think the N-word taker.
No, I totally understand why you thought of that immediately.
So New Japan was not fucking around with Tony. He was immediately beating the likes of Shinya Hashimoto, Bam Bam Bigelow, Masa Saito, and Vader, which if you don't know, beating Vader in New Japan in the early 90s was like beating John Cena in 2011.
Oh, fuck that. Beating Hashimoto's a big fucking deal.
Hashimoto was a big deal, man.
Yeah, like of those guys, like him, Chono, and Muta, like it's that three. They're the goddamn fucking triad.
Nobody can scream, shut the fuck up, to a Japanese crowd quite like Tony Holm. He cusses so much and is like, you like this? Shut the fuck up.
Jake, I wanted to ask you, Ludvig Borga and Vader in the same ring together, is this your favorite match of all time?
This reminds me of the one request that George South has given me. George South, who he asked one thing of me, because I know what's going to happen when George South, the untimely day, happens. When we have to do a 10 Bell Pod episode on him and he passes away. And once that happens, everybody and their brother is going to be running George South memorial shows. And if there is a George South memorial show that's run with me and George Jr., everybody and their brother is going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to wrestle in the show and they're going to want to pay off and they're going to want to do all this. And it's somebody that George never liked when he was alive. And I got one request. Is George told me that if and when there's a George South memorial show, book a battle royal. Everybody that comes out of the woodwork and said they know George and he's traveled with Stav and all those people that just come out of the woodwork and just looking for a payoff and look at that, put them all in a battle royal. Get all of those wrestlers in a big, big, big battle royal. And then blow up the fucking wrestling ring. Blow it up.
With explosives?
With explosives. Killing all of them. I have one request. And if they
have mass murder as
it's that, and dig up all the mason jars in his backyard. Also save his museum from his son, who is just going to put it in a closet. I have a long list of things.
I didn't think I was going to make an Oklahoma City reference in this episode, but here we are.
No, I have a long list of things that I have to do as soon as I find out George is dead, and it is quite a very interesting. It's more of a weirder request than a Brewster's Million situation going on.
I just rewatched that recently.
Yeah. So if the same thing happened to Vader and Ludvig Borga being in the ring, But at the same time, too, we've done an episode on both of them now, so somebody already beat me to the punch.
I would just like to point out that Jake thinks that this podcast is going to outlive George South. I don't know what that means, but there's something, I don't know. And I would just like to point out that Halm beats Vader. Vader misses a big butt splash, and then Halm just rolls him up for an easy 1, 2, 3. They still couldn't, have him brute strength beat his ass.
Because it's Vader. It's the greatest big man of all time.
I mean, triggered. It's like Jake has Vader, I have Missy Hyatt, and Nick has what? Sable? Is Sable still your number one? You think?
Yeah, fuck her, man. Even though Tony was getting an epic push, he wasn't quite getting over it with the crowd, and his almost 1-year career undefeated streak would come to an end September 23rd, 1991, when he was beaten by Shinya Hashimoto.
Damn straight.
Probably kicked his goddamn fucking head off, because that's what Hashimoto did to motherfuckers.
But was Hashimoto on an episode of Boy Meets World? So who's really over, Jake? Who's really over?
Fucking should have been, would have been, and if could have been, would have been amazing.
Throughout 1992, Tony would start taking some L's in singles and various tag team combinations. However, he wasn't just getting jobbed out. He was still picking up wins, and on November 22nd, 92, this racist Duke Nukem and Scott Norton won the IWGP Tag Team Championship from the Steiner Brothers.
I've got more about Duke Nukem than
Can we talk about Wolfenstein for 5 minutes?
Nah, fucking Duke Nukem. Let's see, the Duke Nukem you're thinking of is like it had the cooler fucking graphics. I'm
the
like
BFG. Wait, was that Doom? That was Doom.
Yeah. Like there was a Duke Nukem that was similar to that, but the Duke Nukem that I'm thinking of was like a PC game.
Oh, I remember it. It's God, I forget. There's so many like that.
Oh, it was so fucking awesome.
They'd hold the belts for about a month, losing them December 14th to the Hellraisers, Hawk Warrior and Power Warrior. Jake, what in the actual fuck is Power Warrior?
Fucking Power Warrior is Kensuke Sasaki.
Damn straight.
And fucking it was badass as fuck.
They look cool as shit.
Goddamn right they did. And they came out to the I believe Ozzy Osbourne's version of Hellraiser.
Oh yeah.
Hellraisers. Hellraisers. Like loud over a fucking Japanese dome show. Badass as fuck. And who better to fill in for Animal than Kensuke Sasaki? Like he short, stocky, wicked fucking power slam, did everything he wanted. Animals out because of the Lloyd's of London thing. And I'm surprised we didn't see it more in the U.S., if at all in the U.S. I don't think they did it in America for whatever reason. I think it was mostly just in Japan. But what a way for Hawk to continue to fucking make money while Animals out collecting the Lloyd's of London thing. And badass. So put some goddamn fucking respect on the Power Warrior.
Dude, his match against Kobashi and Noah, I think, like late 2000 aughts, whatever the fuck that's supposed to be. Oh man, best chopping battle ever.
Yeah, fucking badass fucking dude. Also, too, his tag with Hiroshi Hase, all the matches they had with the Steiner brothers, pretty fucking badass, too. Like, yeah, fucking right up there, my friend.
I would just like to bleed off of the Hellraisers thing. And for looking at Holm's matches, his tag matches were like Mad Libs. Like, okay, here, Holm and Bobby Eaton versus the Hellraisers. We got Holm versus Super Mullet Perry Saturn versus Great Muda and Chono. And we got Holm and Barbarian versus Earthquake and King Haku. And I'm saving this one for Jake. We got the Great Muda and Hase versus Holm and Brad fucking Armstrong.
Yeah, and you see the equation is great fucking wrestlers with this fucking turd of shit.
It's so fucking true. It's true. When I was watching, I was like, okay, they got the dude to go in there and do some mat wrestling with the guys that can. They got the dude to bump in there, and he tag it home, and he does his body punch shit, and then he hits a couple power slams, and then they get the other dude to take the job.
But not just the other dude. One of the best fucking wrestlers of all time.
Believe me.
Let's get Brad Armstrong. Let's get Bobby Eaton.
I'm an asshole for saying the other dude.
even Perry Saturn, like another dude.
Perry was amazing.
Yeah, like even Perry, like just like a guy who's fucking incredible. Let's get him in the fucking ring. Like you couldn't just put like an average. You couldn't just put Alex Wright out there. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't. I mean, you had to have somebody who is next level. You could put Terry Taylor out there. You have to have next level.
I like that one.
You can't. You gotta have next level fucking exceptional fucking talent in Bobby Eaton and Brad Armstrong out there.
Behind the scenes, Tony started having problems with his own tag team partner, Scott Norton. And rumor has it that Tony KO'd Norton, though most say it was a sucker punch. This is shocking to me because if I still have a little bit of Mark left in me, I believe all tag team partners are best friends behind the scenes.
Yeah, it does break your heart.
Following the incident, New Japan sided with Norton, and from there, Tony would get his official D-push, losing tons of matches until he left the promotion June 1993. 93 was also the year that Borga would be on the first season of the Finnish TV show Gladiatorit, which was just the Finnish version of American Gladiators. He did 19 episodes.
The best part was all these were directed by Rennie Harlan, which for a movie geek, he did Die Hard 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Deep Blue Sea, all good trash. And this aired on the MTV3 channel, which I was like, whoa, that's weird, but apparently it's Monos TV. And my favorite thing of all the research on this stupid show, here's the following quote. 2 people became famous from the show, with Tony Halme, who played the Viking, who had become a member of the Parliament, and Verpe Butt, who played Gladiator Diamond, who committed a murder in 2003. That was it.
Jesus.
We'll get there on Ludvig Borga.
So now, an unemployed, violent, racist, can't wrestle for shit shoot fighter, it was only a matter of time before Vince McMahon would swoop in and say, "Did somebody say shoot fighter?" At a WWF Superstars taping, July 16th, 1993, Ludvig Borga would begin his WWF main event climb by squashing Tony DeMoro.
Ludvig Borga, the former powerlifting champion, former boxing champion, member of the Finnish Special Forces, and did you know they only recruit 17 in the country per the whole year? And did you know that his attire looks like a Vera Bradley pocketbook design that my mom had in the late 90s? Because I do.
I can just picture like Vince McMahon just going nuts over Borga. Like, oh, look at him. Oh, look at those goddamn arms, and he's blonde too. Oh, god damn it. Which is funny. I've heard stories about Vince McMahon when Jinder Mahal came back and he was like all vascular and jacked to the fucking gills. Like Vince would sit in Gorilla, and I'd hear from like other wrestlers that'd be like waiting to go out, or they have the next segment after Jinder, and like they would hear just Vince like in the middle of a fucking live broadcast on the USA network, and Vince would just be on headset just going, oh goddamn, look at Jinder. Jinder Mahal looks fucking good. Goddamn, look at him. Look how fucking vascular he is.
Oh my god.
So I can only imagine what Vince would have saw, like, look at those goddamn arms. Those fucking big, muscular, goddamn fucking arms. Oh, probably racist as fuck, too. Wrap your racist arms around me. My Finnish gladiator. And me, with those shoot fighting gloves, I fucking love the fuck out of that. Oh, god damn, we can't cover up your nipples. We gotta give you some sort of singlet. See that back meat right there. That's what I'm talking about right there. Pull me into your bosom. Remind me when I was a little child. Oh, God damn it.
I was going for a nursing sound effect, just so everyone knows.
So, Ludvig Borga would be armed with a series of vignettes, walking around in jorts and trashing the social fabric of America, and honestly making some good points. We don't care about the environment, our infrastructure is failing, and the Lex Express sucked.
It's not just, hey, America, you're stupid and you suck. He doesn't attack the country. He attacks the people, as he says, the European settlers who took the country and then wasted the country. It's like he's mad at the people for squandering this great potential. For that time, it's kind of a refreshing, somewhat imaginative take. But yeah, these vignettes are so good. It's just, oh, you only speak one language, the American dream, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's my favorite line. Sorry. He's looking at a river with trash everywhere, and he says, look at this filth. You call this the land of milk and honey? Well, down here it smells funny. And then he goes on another rant, and it's like, did he just try to do like a rhyming poem in the middle of his promo? And everybody accusing everyone of being on welfare. It's just that they are so much fun because he really is. He's committing. He doesn't feel like he's playing a character. He is Ludvig fucking Borga.
And I'm pretty sure after he made that line that you're talking about, he was like, "All right, my name is Nick Alexander. Everybody have a good night. I got off stage."
So, with his sights set on taking out Lex Luger and America in general, PWI's 145th ranked wrestler ran through a series of job guys and Virgil on the way to 1993's SummerSlam. There, Ludvig Borga would take on Marty Jannetty.
Go watch his jobber matches. He kills jobbers. He clotheslines them onto their neck, onto their head. It is fucking disgusting, but is also very entertaining.
Well, and also, too, I messaged George South, as I always do for every episode, and I thought he'd have some sort of Ludvig Borga story, because this is kind of still in the wheelhouse. He's doing jobs and at that time, or would have heard something, and George's like, got nothing.
Damn it.
So, like, not even like a thing like, oh, we were trying to avoid him or anything like that. So, which leads me to believe that George actually wrestled Ludvig Borga. I mean, he doesn't remember it because he's got the shit beat out of him.
Well, that's one of my favorite details I found watching all these jobber matches. To give you an idea, Ludwig worked so hard that he headbutts a jobber named Sonny Rogers that busts Ludwig open the hard way because he headbutted him so damn hard in a 2-minute squash match.
Sonny Rogers is the Chicago version of George South. He trained a lot of guys. I think he even had a hand in Windy City wrestling. Sonny Rogers is a Chicago legend, my friend. So put a little bit of respect on Sonny Rogers.
I'm rarely impressed, but that was very impressive, Jake.
Sonny Rogers, kind of the Chicago version of George South.
No, he gets a lot of respect because he didn't get busted open. Stupid ass Ludwig busted himself open.
Exactly.
At SummerSlam, Marty sells his ass off while Vince and Bobby Heenan put Ludwig over on commentary. Borga would submit Marty with the lamest version of the torture rack ever, but he wasn't done for the night. Later, after Lex Luger super didn't win the WWF title by beating Yoko by countout, Ludwig would storm into the face locker room and tell Lex that he was not impressed by his performance.
Good GSP there.
GSP.
Yeah, and everybody and who saw that paper was like, yeah, we weren't impressed. You didn't fucking win the belt. You didn't win the belt. You didn't win the belt. You didn't win the belt. You win the belt. No, you didn't win the belt. All right. Well, then what the fuck did you do?
But confetti.
Yeah. What the fuck? Steiner Brothers. Shoulders.
They did those head-to-head promos at one point, and it's a couple months later. But it's Luger talks about like, yeah, at SummerSlam I won, and Ludwig really has that moment where he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You didn't win anything, you news-spinning dumb fuck. And it's just great for, he's just like, you didn't do anything. Quit being an American and pretending everything's a win.
And how fucked up is 1993 WWF? Where, like, you know how bad Lex is. There's nobody in that locker room. There's nobody that wears a suit. There's nobody that is walking around with a rolled up pieces of paper in the back that has any illusions of Lex Luger being a good fucking wrestler. A wrestler that could pull something out of a wrestler, quote unquote, like Ludvig Borga. Mm-hmm. But you're like, we're going to book this and make this happen. I don't fucking know what the fuck they thought. I don't know how that fucking happened. Like I get Tatanka. Tatanka, good hand in the ring.
Yeah.
That all fucking tracks. Fuck, Virgil is a better fucking choice to get in a fucking program with than Lex fucking Luger, who has been carried through his entire career. That is the perception of Lex Luger. The only reason Lex Luger was Lex Luger because he wrestled Ric Flair. Yeah. That's what you know. That's what Lex reputation was at this exact moment. This fucking right here. He's not known as a guy who's like, you know who could really get the best out of Ludvig Borga? Lex Luger. That's fucking, I don't know. Who? I want to meet the man. I want to meet the man who had that fucking idea. And thought that was a good idea. Because even in Vince McMahon and his jacking off to fucking muscles that he is notorious for, not even in his literal wet dream could she have thought that was going to be a good fucking idea.
Counterpoint. USA versus a foreigner. That's it. That's literally it, right?
You got Yokozuna right there. You're already in the middle of this. I mean,
but that's literally the only
like
reason,
I said,
right?
you could put Ludwig with the Tonga, which we get to, but like if that's where we want to get to in the end, like what are we thinking? Like a WrestleMania, Lex Luger versus Ludvig Borga?
Oh yeah.
Oh goddamn, that's
a ladder match. Oh god.
Yeah, put them in the ladder match. Let them. If they want to take an extra 10, 20 minutes, that'd be good too. Oh, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's what Daddy likes.
Vince, your pants.
God damn it! I know where my pants are. I know they're on my ankles. Why don't you ask me where my hands are right now, pal? Ask me where my goddamn hands are.
I'm not.
Oh, ask me where my goddamn hands are.
Another important SummerSlam.
Hold on, Jake needs a minute to just.
Go.
Okay.
Go.
So another important SummerSlam note, during the Jannetty match, they tease a future matchup between the undefeated Tatanka and the undefeated Borga. And on the October 30th, 1993 edition of Superstars, the two streaks would meet.
Honestly, saying it out loud, it feels like Borga versus Tatanka with his whole angle of like, you know, you wasted this country, you moved in and did all this bullshit. He should be like siding with Tatanka. Like, oh, these morons took this continent from you. Why is he fighting him? They should be a tag team. It makes so much sense to me now.
Yeah,
right?
Tatanka should be his Bobby Eaton. He should be bump around
Right?
with him. Like fuck Tatanka and Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah.
Like it should have been Ludvig Borga and Tatanka.
You turn Tatanka heel, and you got two undefeated massive heels. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not the best booker, but I think that sounds good.
Sounds a lot better than booking him against Lex Luger. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I've always heard that Borga was Tatanka's first loss, and I never actually watched the match till a couple weeks ago. But hey, I was like, oh, it's dirty, which I guess, you know, helps Tatanka. But he just hits him in the back with a chair, rolls him in. That's it. But it's not even. It's on free TV, not a pay-per-view, not even Raw. It's just on Superstars or some shit with building up to these two massive undefeated foes.
After yet another white nationalist took something from a Native American, Ludwig would join up with the Foreign Fanatics leading into Survivor Series. Before the main event, Jim Cornette cuts a 100 out of 10 promo.
It's really good.
Then Yoko, Quebecer Jock, Crush, and Borga would face the All-Americans, Lex Luger, the Steiner Brothers, and The Undertaker.
Yeah, there was apparently a lot of like subs and people getting hurt and throwing Undertaker in and all that. The Wikipedia entry on this match for what it was originally going to be is long as shit.
Ludwig would get himself an elimination, taking out Rick Steiner, and would last the entire match, surviving to the final two with Lex Luger. Borga dominates Luger for quite a while. They have one of the worst reversals of an Irish whip in wrestling history. But in the end, face Lex Luger hits Ludwig with his metal forearm, 1, 2, 3, and this is the first time we'd see Ludwig get pinned on TV.
And Nick, who does Lex Luger celebrate in the ring with after the match?
Santa Claus comes out, and it reminded me of that time The Rock came out that tried to put over Roman Reigns. It's like, hey, we all like Santa, right? If you celebrate with Santa, you'll be over now, Lex.
Santa's giving that look to The Rock gave, like, oh,
I don't know, fella.
I don't know if I want to touch you.
Hey, you like money and pizza? Well, here's money and pizza to come out.
So on a December 20th, 93 episode of Raw, Tatanka would get a little paid back, getting a DQ win over Ludwig.
also around this time, he has a match with Scott Steiner, a singles match on Raw, which might be Borga's best WWF match if I had to pick. It's back and forth, obviously power moves, but Scotty knows how to work, and it's pretty fun. The dueling promo before the match is good. It's as best as Borga's gonna see in WWF, I think. So there's that.
Then, at a house show, December 14th, 93, Borga beat Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title, but the decision was reversed because Shawn Michaels had hit Razor with a fake title belt.
Shawn did not have the fake title. He had the real title because he never lost the title, guys. Just to remind you.
You're being awful defensive for something we didn't bring up at all, Jake.
I'm just saying, Shawn did not hit him with the fake title. He hit him with his actual Intercontinental belt, which he never lost. They stripped him of it because he didn't defend it in 30 days. So he never lost. He was still a champion.
Us.
Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Even though this is click-on-click violence, I'm still taking Shawn.
So Borga wasn't exactly getting over as the monster heel they envisioned.
It turns out the monster heel that he was in the locker room.
Yeah.
And then especially when they saw the Nazi tattoo, like, oh, this is a different monster than we thought.
Does nobody have respect for method acting anymore? Fuck. We give De Niro all this credit, but nah, Ludvig Borga is a Nazi and tries to be a heel foreigner. We're suddenly mad at him.
And I like all the stories when people like talk about Borga and they talk about like this tattoo of like, what is it, SS or
Schutzstaffel, the SS tattoo.
Yeah, he's got that, and like I like how the WWF's like, hey, maybe you cover that up. Not even like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have a Nazi. Like, no, let's cover that up. He's got an SS tattoo.
SummerSlam tattoo. What's that doing there?
Exactly, yeah. Vince would have no idea about the Holocaust ever happening. Yeah, that sounds like Vince McMahon being so lost in about, what are you talking about the Holocaust? What are you talking about?
He's supportive of our summer pay-per-views.
Who the hell is Hitler? I like how Nick was worried that it wasn't going to go an hour. Like, I don't know if this is going to go an hour. Oh, no, buddy.
We always find a way.
We are finding a way.
Life finds a way.
So the final blow to Borga's WWF run would be on January 17th, 1994, when Ludwig injured his ankle in a match with Rick Steiner. The injury caused WWF to scrap Borga's plans for the Rumble and WrestleMania. I think it was Pritchard that said once he got injured, WWF kind of used it as a reason to like push him out of the locker room, like, just get out of here.
And the single matches he was supposed to have for a Royal Rumble, he was finally have a blow-off match with Tatanka, and then there was apparently a rumor scheduled match of him versus Earthquake at WrestleMania.
How excited was Tatanka when he found out that Borga was not going to be around? Like, Tatanka would be like, yes, thank fucking God we're not going to blow off this feud. Thank you so much.
He's like, Rick Steiner, can I buy you a meal?
Yeah.
So just as quickly as he came, he was gone. And from there, Tony would try his hand at boxing and MMA. Now, Jake Manning is an encyclopedia when it comes to pro wrestling and Baywatch. My knowledge and John Mayer's discography is untouchable, but Micah J. Loving is Tim Bell's resident expert on MMA.
First off, I just want to say that his MMA record is 0-4. I mean, he went out there and did it. I'm not shitting on him. 3 of his defeats were in a promotion called Rings, which was we talked about in our MMA gimmicks Patreon, whatever the hell that was called. But his big fight came at UFC 13. Now, UFC 13 is a time, I'm not going to be a total expert here, but I think it's still around the time you couldn't fish hook. I think even UFC 1 you couldn't fish hook. You could eye gouge, you could punch him in the balls, which if you look up just UFC, there's a shot of Joseon, who is kind of a legendary shitty MMA fighter, just repeatedly getting punched in the dick. And it was all legal back then. UFC 13, it kind of evolved a little bit because I think this has already gotten the John McCain days of the human cockfighting and all that. So they implemented some stuff, but it was still pretty wide open. I found an article leading up to Ludwig's match with Randy Couture is who he faces, which I think I need to read just because it kind of gives an idea of Ludwig's mind frame and how he treated this, which at the time, it was a tough man competition. They happened at your local armory. So the day before the fight, this is an excerpt from an article from, I didn't write it down, but I actually paid 99 cents to get this article. Patreon, thank you very much. So off we go to Gold's Gym. Tony's cranking out 600-pound plus squats. Always a good idea the day before an MMA fight, and up comes a young girl. She addresses Tony, "Ain't you Ludvig Borga?" So Tony and his new girlfriend exchange pleasantries. He does a few more heavy squats, and it's off to Applebee's for lunch. After polishing off a giant slab of ribs, Tony opts for the double hot fudge sundae. I question him about his dietetic choice just the day before his UFC debut. And the answer comes, "I have been dieting very hard. Now it's time to eat for energy." So Tony was taking this, as most dudes would back then. The early UFC days are fun as shit. They mispronounce the hell out of everything. They call him Tony Halaba. He's the heavyweight boxing champion of Finland. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to recite Tony's MMA promo that he does before the Couture fight. But I just want to say that Nick and Jake, you have to cut an MMA promo of yourself after I do mine. "When I get to the octagon and the referee say, 'Let's get it on,' I get there to kill or be killed. First, I try to hit him as hard as I can. If I miss that one, I try to headbutt him. If I miss that one, I rip his arms off and then his legs off. Ah!" Please tell me that's part of the opening.
Typical start to a Man Scout promo.
So I've had 3 MMA fights this week. I've done 6 open mics. And now you're putting a camera in my face and you want me to sell this match when we're already on fucking pay-per-view. Is that what you want to do? You want me to fucking talk about this goddamn shit? You don't even have Joe Rogan come over here and talk to me. You got this B-level ESPN interviewer talking to me. You want to know how I feel about all this? I feel fucking tired. I want to go home.
Jake would later go on to win the fight in 5 seconds with an immediate knockout punch.
I would just be like, you know what? The other guy has more Twitter followers, so I'm going to fight him and beat him in the scorecard, but you're just going to give him the win anyways because this is UFC.
All right, just kind of show off my shit. Joe Rogan, UFC 13 was his second appearance. UFC 12 was his first appearance, and he actually interviews Randy Couture. All right, they actually reference that Ludwig used to be a WWF wrestler, and my favorite whoa moment was, we all know that WWF isn't a real competition, and they're just blowing kayfabe out of the water and exposing the business. To give you
Unlike UFC, we keep it very tight and underground, and we don't let that secret get out at all.
That's right, baby.
I could just picture Joe Rogan calling over, "Randy, get over here and talk about how you beat up this fake-ass fucking wrestler who turns out to be a Nazi."
Which at the time Rogan might agreed with. All right, just to give you an idea, Tony is billed as 6'4", 300 pounds. Shoot fighting was his style. 34-year-old Randy Couture, 225 pounds, 6'1", Greco-Roman wrestler, 33 years old. This is not only Ludwig's first MMA fight, this is Randy Couture's very first UFC fight and MMA fight. And if you don't know anything about Randy Couture, if you ever feel like, hey, I'm too old, I can't do anything, Randy Couture is a testament to what you can do at an older age when you're just determined and you're a badass.
Fucked up one of the big money matches, Chuck and Tito, and delayed that a little bit longer just because he...
Oh, those three.
Yeah.
They made Dana so much money.
Yep. And then I could just... Fucking Randy Couture, it'd be amazing if he walked over to Borga and were like, "You're the fucking job guy now, bitch." I'd make every job guy wrestler in the world just fucking stand up and in. Borga, you're the fucking job guy now.
Jake just did an impression of Jean-Claude Van Damme at the end of Death Warrant. All right, moving on. Going on to the actual fight, I'm going to describe it and then I have a comment because it literally blew my mind. The match starts, Tony flies in like a madman and attempts to throw a right, which I'm not even going to count as an attempted punch. Couture, because he's a wrestler and because he's a smart man, immediately ducks under the punch and takes Tony down. He gets on top of him, he hits one ground and pound shot that is gorgeous. It is a shiner after the fight that I think put it on Borga. But he hits a couple ground and pound shots. Borga rolls over because that's what you do when you're in that position. You don't have a lot of jiu-jitsu experience. Does he even get the full choke in? I think it's more of a forearm choke, and Borga taps out in 56 seconds. Now, let me run through that again. Borga runs in, his opponent ducks under, takes him down, beats him up, and then chokes him out. If you watch CM Punk's very first UFC fight, this is a picture-perfect representation of the exact same fucking thing. CM Punk flies in. He throws a little bit more of a punch, but it's equally embarrassing. Mickey Gall ducks under it, takes him down, beats him up for 3 minutes, so he outlasts Borga, but then he chokes him out. I laughed so much. It was like, goddamn pro wrestlers. They just got to charge in and try to win the fight right away, and then they just get fucked.
Much like Jake Manning, like you said in his fucking promo, he was going to do.
All right, despite what Bobby Heenan said, he did not have 47 boxing matches with 43 KOs. He had 13 wins and 6 losses, 10 knockout wins and 5 knockout losses, and 1 DQ loss, which makes sense for Borga. I did have a question for Jake. Have you, through your pro wrestling days, or even now, do you ever train real stuff to try to implement it into your move set or skill set or how you look in the ring or anything?
Oh, I was going to, like, when I, felt the Man Scout character wasn't getting over, and I was going to do something different, and I was going to be regular black trunks and kick pads and take up MMA and so, like, kind of do that and implement that, and because I figured that's where wrestling was going, and then I realized, why do I want to be like everybody else? Right. So I'll keep putting on this Boy Scout outfit. Also, too, I hurt my knee, and I felt like it'd be best for me not to do actual real fights with a bum knee. So,
yep. A couple things I'll try to go through as quick as possible. Tony Halme versus Terriel Bitsade. I don't know. Just look up Terriel. I think it's a worked fight. I got Nick to watch this fight. It's basically Tony in boxing gloves, but the other guy's like wearing gi pants, and he's throwing kicks. And this dude beats the shit out of Tony. But then Tony comes back with a Hail Mary comeback from behind victory. And Nick, was it not just the coolest shit in the world?
Like, the dude just dismantles Tony the entire fight, and then out of nowhere, blop, fight's over. It felt like a dive. For sure.
It did, but it was good storytelling. The drama was like, oh man, Tony's getting fucked up. And then there's that one thing where he gets a couple punches in there and drops him. And I admit, I kind of marked out. The crowd is into it too, which is always big, but good stuff. All right, try to blow through these. Look up Tony versus Kari. The dumbest shit, Tony comes out to Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood. And Kari comes out to the Star Wars scroll theme. To give you an idea, this match ends when Tony's opponent trips to the mat. He's on all fours. Tony wails back and punches the shit out of him in his face. I assumed it was going to be a point deduction or a DQ. Nah, Tony just wins the match for punching a dude on all fours. If you want to watch Tony get knocked the fuck out with a one-hitter quitter, watch Tony versus Yassine Kingbo. And then I guess we're kind of leading into Tony's politics here. Tony Halme versus Almaz Gizmiv. Tony walks out in a shirt on the front that says TonyHalme.net, and on the back it reads HIV negative.
I mean,
Jake, you perked up on that. Can I get a response?
I mean, some states require you to have HIV testing before you fight or you wrestle, and then you always got some goofy-looking fucking guy from the commission go, I need to see your actual physical license, and I go, I'm licensed to you guys. I sent the paperwork in. It's good. You think I just don't have the actual piece of fucking cardboard you mailed me? Don't you have a database? Well, I mean, that's going to take some time for me to get it. Can you hook me up to a Wi-Fi? Even though he's got a fucking phone clearly on his fucking belt loop, and you'd think somebody who's working for the fucking commission could just go right into the database and see if you're fucking licensed or not. No, he wants to see the actual piece of fucking cardboard they mailed you in the fucking mail. So maybe, fuck it, he's just trying to save fucking time, let people know, hey, I've already been blood tested, so I'm good to go.
It could be that.
Yeah.
I'll finish up with this. This is actually random dirt pro wrestling, but I don't know where it's going to fit in. I told Nick, and he already watched a little bit of it. Look up Tony Halme versus Boogie Commando. I can't stress enough, if you like token with the marijuana, I probably sound like I was 55 years old there, or having some drinks, sit down with your loved one or by yourself and watch Tony Halme versus Boogie Commando and get fucked up and enjoy this 3-part series. It's probably about 18 minutes total, and I don't want to give it all away, but you've seen backyard wrestling in America. This is backyard European redneck wrestling of the most trashy that I didn't think existed in other continents. This is the only thing I'm going to tell you about this. This is the tease. This is the opening to the match. Tony's opponent, Boogie Commando, is this military gimmick-looking bitch in like high voltage gear with Daisy Dukes on top of that. And he makes his entrance for the match out of the back of a windowless van while Jump by Van Halen plays him to the ring. I don't know what else to say, but he's in the ring for 5 minutes until Tony comes out. It gets worse from there. I'm not going to say anything else. Get high. Watch Tony versus Boogie Commando.
Tony would get back into pro wrestling as Ludvig Borga for Catch Wrestling Association in late 95, where he'd feud with Rambo, who you may remember as Luke Poirier, a.k.a. Sniper, part of WWF's Truth Commission with the Jackal and Kurgan and all that shit. On December 20th, Borga won Catch Wrestling's World Heavyweight title, his first and only singles title, by defeating Rambo at the 95 Euro Catch Festival. Borga held the title for just over a year, losing it back to Rambo at 96's Catch Wrestling Festival.
And if you're wondering, Rambo looks like Mike Awesome mixed with Brutus the Barber Beefcake mixed with a centaur.
Aside from scripted, predetermined fighting and pro wrestling, Borga had an artistic side to him. He wrote books. He had a little bit of a music career, which you can find by YouTubing Tony Hom. I don't recommend it.
They're good techno songs over him punching a bag and screaming into a mic. And
So basically, like that Roddy Piper music video, that song, like "I wanna be with you."
Oh.
Yeah. Just remember that one? He like was punching, and then like,
just a little bit more. Dum, 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 dum,
Oh.
dum, dum.
well, I mean, he's still punching a bag.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah,
like Roddy gave his like kill to like an old man, and I don't know if
It's
it was
like-
a love song.
It's like take Roddy Piper's music video there and mix the techno Viking.
Okay,
Yeah, Techno Viking is who it reminded me of.
Some of the names of Tony's music singles, if you want to look them up, are I Am Iron Man, The Viking, I Am Like This, and Sawed Off Clown, which means fuck off, and The Fatherless Son.
Oh,
Poor Tony.
that was probably a ballad. Borga would also do some movies, appearing in such films as Lionheart, Fist of the North Star, which also had Vader in it, and Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Hot take, Die Hard with a Vengeance better than the original Die Hard. Yep, kill me. Dude, his scene in Die Hard with a Vengeance is actually pretty funny. It's when, if anybody remembers, Samuel L. Jackson, they get the briefcase with the bomb that's at the park that's near the fountain, and they figure out the water bottle riddle, and then he takes it and he turns in the bomb to some cops or terrorists posing as cops. And Tony is the one who takes the briefcase and is like, oh, and he tries to leave it for some kids. And it's actually a good little kind of stupid scene where these horrible terrorists show some humanity. Lionheart, he's soft focus in the background of the final fight, which is really good. Downloaded this one, I haven't seen it yet, but after you hear this, everyone will want to see it. Tony Hom is in this movie. I think it's a mid-90s direct-to-video action movie. It is called Whatever It Takes. The premise is 2 Los Angeles cops go undercover to investigate the distribution of steroids to pro wrestlers and bodybuilders. The cast stars Fred Williamson, Don the Dragon Wilson, and Andrew fucking Dice Clay. He did some movies with Cynthia Rothrock, Martin Kove, who was the bad guy in The Karate Kid. He was also in a Finnish sex comedy called Pontarosa from 2001. This is the IMDb plot description. A sleazy sex comedy about a blind man who wants to become a lifeguard, his friend with a tiny willy, and 3 beautiful models who all meet at the sloppy camping ground run by a homophobic manager, Maury, who is played by ex-WWF wrestler Tony Halme. The movies that he was in, I need to look up the ones that I haven't seen because they look like some fun shit.
After conquering the world of sports and media, you really only have one place to go as a man with a Nazi tattoo, and that is politics, baby. Tony Holm would run for Finland's parliament, holding office from 2003 to 2007. We're not going to sit here and pretend to be experts on Finnish politics, but to touch on it just a bit, Tony, who was totally cool with going to Japan and America to work, was a Finnish nationalist violently opposing immigration as part of the True Finn Party. And this is the funniest goddamn thing I've ever heard. The party is financially liberal and socially conservative. That is the worst fucking thing you could possibly be.
Violently against immigration, like violently, like was he physically picking up immigrants and throwing them out the border or something?
He could.
I read.
I mean,
It's hard to do research on this because I don't speak fucking Finnish, but I read comments that One time, Tony said that true Finns should go into the streets and physically beat up immigrants. He said that as a...
That's fine. That's fine. I just want a clarification.
Jake got his answer pretty good.
Got my answer. That's
I
fine.
think my favorite political tidbit on Tony was at one point when he was in office, he suggested sending all the convicted drug dealers to Russian jails instead of Finnish ones in order to save on costs.
Now we'll get into the downfall of Tony. On July 4th, 2003, cops were sent to Tony's apartment after a domestic quarrel with his wife, which apparently led to Ludvig firing off what was soon to be discovered as an unlicensed handgun. To top it off, he was on prescription painkillers and his blood contained trace amounts of amphetamines.
Yeah, Nick, but did you see the truth about the amphetamines? Somebody poured the amphetamines into his drink without him knowing.
And you want to know what else they found in his blood? Racism.
Not AIDS.
Yeah, definitely not AIDS. But full of racism.
Then during a police search of his House of Parliament office, they found steroids.
The coolest thing about all this is I saw his trial was broadcast live on that MTV channel.
After his trial, he got a 4-month suspended sentence, but continued to serve as a member of parliament. In early March 2006, Tony was involuntarily committed to a mental hospital, reportedly due to delirium caused by excessive alcohol use. Earlier in 2006, he had been diagnosed with alcohol-related cirrhosis and acute pancreatitis. After spending most of 2006 on sick leave, he was put on disability, and that would be the end of his run in Parliament. In December 2009, Tony had told a newspaper that he was suffering from impairment of his short-term memory. I know there's master race. I just don't remember which.
Am I good or bad?
I can't tell if I'm Italian or not right now.
In my country, wait, shit, which is my country?
Then things get really dark for Mr. Tony. On January 8th, 2010, 2 days after his 47th birthday, Tony shot himself, which seems like a weird way to celebrate.
Surprise!
Oh, God.
What are you gonna do? I don't know. Maybe go out and blow my fucking brains out on my birthday.
Oh, fuck me.
All right, well, final thoughts on fucking Ludvig Borga.
Man, fucking, what a piece of shit. You know, like we've had some people on here before, and we try to find redemption with people. Unless you're fucking Vader.
Missy Hyatt.
Oh, she's not dead yet. Like, it's just one of those things where, like, he's a big, strong fucking dude, and all the doors just open up for you, and you just come in and you just be a fucking asshole about it. You know, as a guy of, like, average size in athletics, I'm a big guy compared to, you know, like, non-athletic competition people. Like, I'm about 200 pounds, just shy of about 6 foot. So I'm a decent sized guy, and, like, and I look at all those 6'4", 250 pound guys. It's like, man, if I had that, it'd be so much I could do with it. And he's just an example of somebody that had tons of opportunity and had the ability to put himself into power and politics and put himself in situations to succeed, and he was a fucking shitbag about it. And sometimes life is full of that, and him being so self-centered might have been the thing that actually put him in that position. Because he was a nice individual. He would have had a nice life. We would have never known about him. We definitely wouldn't have done a podcast about him. Vince McMahon wouldn't have jerked off to him. So, like, there is some things missed out in this world. I think he even has a Hasbro figure, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, it's one of those things, if he wasn't a fucking asshole, he wouldn't have gotten into the position he even got into. But also, too, he would have been a nice individual and maybe contributed a little bit to society, because him famous, he's one of the rare cases he contributed nothing. He's not even one of those people that, like, he was an asshole, but he invented the iPhone. He was an asshole, and he, like, I haven't heard a redeeming quality from Ludvig Borga. If there is anybody, holler at your boy, because I'd like to know. apparently, judging by the YouTube comments, everybody just kind of agrees about how I feel. So I'm glad that we did such a fucking asshole, and it was fun.
I have a, not to name drop or anything, but I was talking to X-Pac. We were talking about problematic pro wrestlers. And I said, hey, what about Ludvig Borga? And his eyes just like bugged out of his head. And he was like, yeah, he wasn't a good dude.
That makes it so yeah, he wasn't a good dude.
That's exactly how he said it.
You can see just 100% honesty coming out of that mouth right there. Like, fuck, man.
It was just a thing where he was like completely off guard. He was like, I wasn't expecting to talk about that Nazi asshole today. Like,
I think that just finished Jake off, by the way.
I'm done. I gave everything to this podcast already today.
I will say he was very dedicated since he ended it just like Hitler. And by that, I mean having the...
Wow, that was good.
By that, I mean having the U.S. government fake his suicide and give him safe refuge in Argentina in exchange for a new batch of Nazi scientists to run our space program.
We already did that. I don't know. Fucking Ivan Drago looking bitch. Aaron, I'm gonna be controversial. I thought his torture rack was very, very good. It really was. It was better than fucking Luger's, which he just
great.
fucking danced around like he had hemorrhoids. He really did. I mean, the only thing I could say, go back and watch his New Japan matches. He is like, if you see him from a distance, even close up, you think he's Brock. He's so Brock, it's weird. So you gotta kind of think, what's Brock's real feelings on certain political ideas? I don't know. My comments for my final thoughts and my notes read, well, fuck. So I think that sums it up. I would just like to read his book titles because his stuff just, it exemplifies him as a weird piece of shit human who just toiled away and wrote this weird shit. You could pick up The Testament, A Hard Day's Night, which I assume is his Beatles tribute, The Viking Strength Guide, The Judgment Day, and God Has Mercy, I don't.
No shit, motherfucker. You're an awful human being. You know what I'm saying? You lack empathy for other people. You're throwing immigrants across a fucking border wall, you fucking worthless piece of fucking space.
And I just like to finish. I can't remember if we finished this, but Jim Ross buries the shit out of him. He even buried the shit out of him when he heard he died. He was like, oh, he died? Fuck that guy.
Yeah, and even Jim Ross had a little bit of a fucking thing for Bob Sweetan. Like, yeah, Bob Sweetan, he died. He had a career. Where Ludvig Borga,
he was a person who existed.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. He died. All right. Ludvig Borga dead. Good. You know what I'm saying? Like,
as bad as it is as a movie nut, like a documentary on Ludvig Borga would be fucking
it really
fascinating.
would be. Yeah.
I hate to say that, but I mean, shitty people, horrible people make for fascinating subjects, which is why I'm so into serial killers, which who knows about Ludvig Borga.
But that would be the only good contribution he's given to the fucking world.
No, it's one of those things like, hey, you see how that person acted? Do the opposite of that. That's the only way he contributes.
It's like when I like listening to the Crime and Sports podcast because I'm like, no matter how bummed out I get and how down on myself, I'm like, at least I didn't fuck up my life like these guys did.
It's so true.
Sometimes you need a story like Ludvig Borga to realize, man, I didn't fuck up everything.
Right? It's so 100% true.
Because every fucking rung of the ladder, this guy fucked up everything. And any situation he walked away from, no matter if it was WWF, UFC, boxing, probably even movies, politics, everything, interpersonal relationships, obviously, with his wife, all this fucking shit, everybody walks away from dealing with a guy, man, what a fucking piece of shit. Like, there isn't anything this man hasn't touched where somebody's like, you know what? He was all right. None of that. He's like, man, what a fucking asshole. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of here. Fucking Ludvig Borga.
Oh, man. All right, I think that was our most interesting final thoughts yet.
It's definitely our angriest. Ludvig Borga, there's the fucking door.
That's why I wanted to cover him. I was like a fourth of the way through his Wikipedia. It was like, holy fucking shit, we got to do this.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for listening to this episode, and a big thank you to everyone donating to our Patreon over at patreon.com/TimBellPod. Find us on the social medias at TimBellPod, TimBellPod.com, at Nicolessa, at JTrotter27, at ManScout Manning. Come talk to us.
In Finland, guns shoot you.
I don't
Might be too much, but fuck.
It's not fucking Russia. All right, that's...
My shoes cost more than your house.
Hey, this is Micah for 10 Bell Pod, and if you want to make all my lonely hours and my teenage years of sitting in my room watching tapes somehow mean something later in my life, if you could donate to Patreon, it would mean a lot to me and 15-year-old me who dreamed of getting laid. Thank you.